I keep noticing trends at the BBC. there's, there's quite a trend among people that work at the BBC. Have you noticed? It's become somewhat of a meme. Noticing a lot of things recently. But anyway, Hugh Edwards charged with making indecent images of children. But what does that mean? The veteran. Pardon, haven't done that in a video in a while. The veteran presenter faces potential prison sentence after admitting number of offences. Uh, Go away. Former BBC presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images of children. Now, that's like basically Hugh Edwards is like. Some people almost see him as like the face of British news. He's the guy that's done the BBC News for many, many, many years now, and he's like a household name. But then it came out like last year that he was paying young men, not underage men, but young, vulnerable men, for sexual images of themselves. And then all of that came out. The police looked into it and says, oh, there's actually been no criminality here. However, he was still suspended from the BBC with full pay, and his career was a little bit in tatters. But then it's recently came out that, well, the police have obviously went through his phone and devices, that he was sent some of the bad stuff, right? And yeah. So basically, his wife has now left him. The BBC are now, he's now fully fired from the BBC, and the BBC are now, I believe, asking him to pay back all those wages that he got while suspended, and his life is essentially completely ruined. But let's go into a little bit of the specifics of what actually happened. Former BBC presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images of children. The 62-year-old admitted the offences as he appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court on Wednesday. The court was told that he had communicated with a man who sent him 377 sexual images, 41 being indecent images of children. The veteran broadcaster had an indecent image on his phone of a child as young as 7, the court was told. Fuck off. The offence Edwards committed is called making indecent images of children, but what this means is easily misinterpreted due to its wording. And apparently there's been a lot of debate in like the whole field of law in regards to this thing, because the actual charge itself is very misleading, and what the charge actually is. And basically, I mean, absolutely send people to jail for possessing this stuff, but this charge is kind of bullshit. There is a way it could be worded like so much better. It does not mean that Mr. Edwards had arranged for the images to be made, nor does it mean he used any kind of AI software to artificially produce them. The Crown Prosecution Service acknowledges that the offence has been widely interpreted over the years. Online guidance from the CPS says making indecent images can have a wide definition in the law and can include opening an email attachment containing such an image, downloading one from a website, or receiving one via social media, even if unsolicited and even if part of a group. So basically, whenever you go onto a website, see how your internet history, it downloads a cache of the web pages, and that cache usually contains whatever images were on those web pages. So see if you are on Twitter, just cycling through Twitter, and someone decides to post some of that stuff, and you just scrolled past it and went, that still appears in your cache, like on your computer. So that counts as you making that file. And that's how they get you on that. Now that is kind of bullshit. Right, and even if unsolicited, that means if someone just sends you like CP and you just see it, that's it. Because you've downloaded it onto your computer, that's you creating a file. And even if you don't do anything, even if it just goes into the cache of your browser without you knowing, without you even intending it, it still counts as making an indecent. It's shite. It is a dumb charge, right? But absolutely, still send people to jail for possessing that stuff, but it is still a bullshit charge. Speaking in Edwards' defence, Barrister Philip Evans KC said, there is no suggestion in this case that Mr. Edwards has, in the traditional sense of the word, created any image of any sort. It is important also to remember for context that devices, Mr. Edwards' devices, have been seized, have been searched, and there is nothing in those devices. It is only the images that are the subject of the charges that came via a WhatsApp chat. Mr. Edwards did not keep any images, did not send any to anyone else, and did not and has not sought similar images from anywhere else. There are also 3 different categories of indecent images as outlined by the Sentencing Council. Category A is the most severe and includes images that contain penetrative sexual activity with animals, or SEDA, blah blah blah, fuck off. Category B images involve non-penetrative sexual activity, while Category C images are those which are indecent but do not qualify for A or B. The indecent images that were sent to Mr. Edwards included 7 Category A, 12 Category B, and 22 Category C. Edwards is due to return to the same court to be sentenced on the 16th of September and could be jailed for the offences. Now, as much as like that like creating images charge is bullshit, for possessing the stuff and soliciting those images or encouraging them to be sent to you and stuff like that, then yeah, you should definitely go to fucking jail for that, right? But let's talk about the BBC, right? Because I think we can all agree that this isn't something that he's just started doing. Right, he didn't just decide one day to just start doing this. This is probably something he has been doing for a little while, right? And there was another person. there was another person who worked at the BBC by the name of Jimmy Savile, to the point, and he arguably didn't do anything quite as bad as Hugh here. Sorry. Hugh didn't do anything quite as bad as Jimmy Savile, but a lot of the stuff that Jimmy Savile did was like the worst possible kind of stuff that you could do. Right? Only fully read up on it, especially the hospital stuff, if you have a very, very strong stomach. Right? And it was kind of an open secret at the BBC. But because Jimmy Savile was such a huge household name and everybody fucking knew him and he was extremely popular, but he'd already been working at the BBC for quite some time. Well, Jesus Christ, good God, we can't let that get out. We can't let that information get out, but don't worry about it. All the people that did that at the BBC, they're all retired or dead now, so it's like completely fine. However, that does mean that there is a pattern of behaviour at the BBC where once this type of behaviour is identified, the BBC will quite happily sweep it under the rug so as to save face. So I'm not saying that the BBC knew anything. I don't know that. You don't know that. Only the BBC and maybe the cops know that. However, there is a chance. there is a chance that maybe they knew. Because one thing that's very, very interesting, I don't know if any of you know this, there's a statue outside the BBC building, right outside the front door. I believe it's just up to the top left of the door. That statue was created by a known nonce. A known nonce. And even long after everyone was at to the BBC, hey, the guy that made that statue is a pedo. He's like a pedo. So, yeah, just letting you know, the BBC didn't take it down. They didn't take it down. I think the statue is still up there. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Maybe they've removed it now, but I don't know. But I do remember a story of a brave member of the public who climbed up with a ladder and a hammer and chisel and just started fucking away at the statue, and he was holding up a sign that said, "No nonsense," and all that. True English patriot, right? But basically, I just think that's interesting that even after the BBC knew, they didn't take it down. I don't know. Probably nothing to worry about.